Supernatural Season 7. And, I think, like with Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 6, now that I've finished viewing the season, it's better than I thought it was when I was actually viewing it. Like, when I was able to finally see the true scope of the story that they were going for, I think that it was handled pretty well. I do like the fact that the, bigger story arc this season was easier to follow than last season because last season there was a multitude of things going on. Crowley trying to screw over everyone, Mitch Pileggi coming and going, and you're wondering what his motives are, finding Sam's soul, then seeing what's going on with Eve. Yeah, that didn't really pan out that well, did it? But this season, what it was going for, yeah, I do like how the bit with Castiel led into the true reveal, because while it was a little bit cheap that the Castiel proclaiming himself to be God storyline was handled in the first couple of episodes, then it's revealed that that was not actually the real threat. The real threat was the fact that the Leviathans were unleashed, and suddenly it's a new group of power players factoring into things. Even though they did try to continue Crowley factoring in, but then he gets kind of sidelined because of the Leviathans shaking things up, as was revealed later on, where the vampire Alpha, who I'm pretty sure is the same Alpha that was encountered last season, mentions that they've been having a tougher time handling things, although the revelation that they do at the end saying all other alphas are dead, yeah, I guess I kind of missed that issue of the situations, but it does change the dynamic of some stuff. But to be fair, though, the killing of the alpha doesn't automatically extinguish the species. You still gotta wipe all of them out. It just means that the genesis of the gene was taken care of, and it's gonna be harder, but not always harder to take care of things, because given how vampires in this universe have an easier time mingling in, whereas werewolves seem to have a tougher time, even though, come to think of it, I don't think we've had any werewolves since Madison, have we? I could have sworn that there was like a throwaway line in there. Yeah, but, yeah, I think that's it. So that just bringing in of the Leviathan bit, it took me a while to adjust to it, but then the idea of trying to have a mixture of demonic element in the villains versus the human element because of the Leviathans infiltrating or creating a mega corporation and then trying to make things a heck of a lot tougher, that was ground that the show hadn't gone into before, and while it was a bit of an adjustment, because, you know, you had those two low-level Leviathans pretending to be Sam and Dean for a little bit, and then they're taken care of, and then Dick just chooses, you know, I'm just going to forget about that, let's change the game now. Nice. And then what happens at the end, where Crowley comes back into the picture of things and is able to screw both Dick and Sam and Dean and company? Yeah, that was a great way to lead into what's going on to next season, along with the bringing back of Castiel, which should have been my first clue. You know, because if you're going to bring him back after freaking forever, why not bring Crowley back? Because you never truly dealt with him. Although, I missed the point where Meg, who I guess they're going to have be a recurring character now, because I'm pretty sure that this is the same actress that they used for last season, so it seems like Meg is getting a permanent meat suit now, so to speak. But I don't think that would necessarily be a bad thing because things have really changed since before. So yeah, but yeah, I wish I could remember why exactly she is not really in good favor with Crowley anymore. There's that issue. But it has a new dynamic to things, especially with Mitch Pileggi out of the picture, which I think was a good move because you couldn't really continue that much more, honestly. Plus, like, what does he really hope to gain by seeing his daughter be brought back? He was murdered before, just, okay, whatever. Right. And then bringing back Death one more time, I'm glad that they did that. It proves the point that it's a character that they can really only use like once a season. But I don't feel like that's a contradiction of the how do you beat / trap Death and how you can't do it, because Sam and Dean, yeah, they did do it, but even though Death is bound, he knew that you would only do that if you're really trying to get me to do something. And the thing was, he actually was going to do something to Castiel, except Kaz obviously unbound Death, and suddenly Death has no reason to do anything to Kaz because he could tell that there was just no way that his body would be able to handle that particular situation anymore. Although I seriously wonder why. Oh wait, no, we did see the some angels, because all of the garrison that Kaz said that he was part of being wiped out. Although we also didn't really get a farewell of. Actually, they did mention Raphael in this season, but I can't keep up with that, especially with that other guy. Yeah, it seems like he kind of left that a little bit hanging. I wonder if I'm just missing something or if it's truly the writers ignoring it. Well, I'm going to find out, because by the time that you see this video, I'm probably going to be done with the whole show, so I don't know why I'm complaining, right? I'll have to make a mention down in the comments. But getting back to Death there, yeah. You nonetheless got the idea that he wasn't that concerned. Because while I don't think that he could have necessarily gotten his way out of that, he knew that because they needed him, he would get out one way or the other. The question was, what would he do to the Winchesters? Which he decides to do nothing because he once again figures, you can actually do something that would help me out. Kinda. So he's willing to forgive that situation. That computer guy who was an acquaintance of Bobby, that was good. What they did with him, it makes sense that they got rid of him so quickly, but what's better? Do you go after all the people that the mole has helped, or do you go after the mole? Well, if you're a corporation, you go after the mole. Yeah. And then, the big story arc for this season, what happened to Bobby, although here's the stupid thing about that. If you read the back of this or the DVD, it actually says that Bobby ends up getting killed here. Seriously? Whose bright idea was that? That's just as bad as what they did on the cover for Angel Season 5. Now, granted, what happens... that cover spoils happens in literally the very first episode of the season, okay? So it's not that much of a spoiler, but still, Ay. So yeah, that was a bad move, but thankfully I didn't read the back, because I don't check those things out, because I've watched enough shows that I'm able to pick up on stuff, but... I did kind of see this coming, not like with John, okay, because John dying, that was all but a given, okay? Obi-Wan Kenobi, just bam, that was obvious. Bobby, on the other hand, that was not obvious. They could have kept using him like they had been this whole time, but I don't know, there was just something about the way that he was interacting with Sam and Dean, or just the way that Jim Beaver was playing him, that just seemed different. There was just something that made me think, I don't know why, it just feels different now. And then when they were trying to go into that Leviathan complex, the episode before Bobby ended up actually dying, well, that was just a totally different level of scheme that they were going for, Yeah, there was a little bit of that in season 5, but that wasn't the same. And I'm not talking about the Ellen and Joe bit. No. That felt like just another situation, even though they were trying to hype it as different. The one that I'm talking about is after they dealt with famine, but right before they dealt with pestilence. I'm talking about that one where they charge that complex, that's what I'm talking about. I forget which episode it is, but the diehards will remember. But I don't know, this one just felt more high stakes than that. I couldn't help but think something's going to happen here. And sure enough, Bobby gets shot, and then we have that episode where Bobby and Rufus, a great way to bring him back, because the way that he went out in season 6, while that is kind of typical of how some characters go out, with not too much build-up and not necessarily the best line, Mitch Pileggi, Ellen and Joe, Ruby. It was nice that they brought him back to just have that nicer moment to end the character with. Because while, yes, Bobby's last moment with Sam and Dean in the episode is calling them idiots, but that moment where he says that they're my boys bit, I'm glad that they did that. Really glad, because of just all the different times. Closest thing that I have to her father, and Bobby's like, I'm not your daddy, but if I was your daddy, oh boy, yeah. Just the fact that he views himself as a father figure / older uncle, because I don't know what it is in fictional media, but almost always when it's a character that's either a close friend of the parents or just some other person that helps them, usually they're older than the parents, so that's just where the older uncle comes from bit, yeah. Right, and this hit home because it wasn't nearly as obvious as what happened with John, though, of course, we had the continuation where Bobby's basically haunting his old flask, and then they were able to bring him back, and he helps them a few times, though at the end, everyone concludes it's best if he moves on, because while the bits with the Leviathan aren't taken care of, things have shifted to where it's a lot more likely, and Bobby knows, yeah, I can't keep doing this for forever. Plus, he did go a bit too far with what he was doing with that maid. And, I understood why he did it, but he was about to charge it recklessly, so, yeah. Although, I gotta admit, what they did with that Asian kid, I don't totally get why they ended up doing it, especially since I'd be willing to wager that they aren't going to bring him back. Maybe they will, maybe, but given how he actually seemed to accept his bit as a prophet, although, with the Leviathans wiping out those angels, yeah, that kind of counteracts that, but I don't know, I don't really see them being able to use that character that much. They got a better shot of bringing Charlie back, honestly, and no, it's not because she's gay, it just, I don't know, just the fact that it's easier for her to, mingle in, because she actually wants to do that, unlike, the guy that gives, Sam and Dean the new car, thank God they brought the Impala back at the end, that was stupid, having all those different cars, even though I understand that they still had to low-key keep it up, but, yeah, just, they got a better shot of bringing her back than the kid. Maybe I'm wrong, I'm gonna find out shortly. And then, oh yeah, the Becky bits. Well, the main purpose of that was to show a Crossroads demon that was hypocritical. Puts a bad name to the whole practice. So, what they did with her herself, kind of lousy. But the fact that it helps with the Crossroad demon. I know there's a term for it, and I'm forgetting it, but yeah, that situation. But like those other sidekicks that help Sam and Dean with that particular episode, and then the guy who was dressed in the army outfit with an episode or two to go. Didn't hate them, but I didn't think they added that much, unfortunately. Yeah. Okay, well, somehow I managed to come up with another really long video for another season of Supernatural. And now we come to the end of Sarah Gamble's time as showrunner, and now we have to deal with, I think his name is Jeremy something, as the new showrunner, who apparently hasn't really been involved with the show, at least to my knowledge. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that, because even in the commentary for the last episode that Sarah and Robert Senior do, they weren't really specific. They just knew ahead of time that Sarah was going to depart, and that Sarah had no issues with that whatsoever. She just felt that it was time for her to move on. So I wonder what's going to be happening next, because like with last season, we've got to kill a cliffhanger, but then again, most seasons end in cliffhangers. Season 5 did not end at a cliffhanger. They just left that as a hook in case they decided to continue with the show. That is not a cliffhanger. Pretty much every other season is a cliffhanger, although season 3 is also technically a hook more than a cliffhanger. Yeah. Right. Alright, I wonder what I'm going to be in for next. See ya.